I'm used to the hypocrisy. I'm used to lies. I'm used to the cowardice. I'm used to all of it. But I'm not used to the cruelty. Those were the words spoken by famed comedian and one of my adolescent idols, Jon Stewart, who was, as I said, one of my idols politically as I was growing up, becoming a wee spry teenager. Because in a vote of 55 to 42, these 41 Republican senators blocked a bill to expand health care to veterans exposed to toxic burn pits. Democratic lawmakers blasted the GOP senators for blocking the bill. It has some morality to it, says Pelosi. I don't normally agree with Pelosi, but she's right on this. Senate Republicans on Wednesday blocked a bipartisan bill that would expand healthcare benefits to veterans exposed to toxins from burn pits, an unexpected move that sparked outrage from Democrats and activists. Now, Jon Stewart's obviously involved in this. He mentioned that in one of his first, I think it was his very first episode of his new show, The Problem with Jon Stewart. I grew up on Jon Stewart when he was the host of The Daily Show when I was a wee spry teenager back in the late 2000s. And I was sad to see him leave because the guy that replaced him is a Democratic Party cheerleader and not that funny. The Senate failed to advance the legislation in a 55 to 42 vote, falling short of the 60 votes in a filibuster that needs to be abolished, needed as 41 Republicans opposed the bill. I don't know why this is the case, why this had to happen, but Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer switched his yes vote to no to allow him to bring up the legislation again in the future. I'm guessing if it's voted all along party lines, it's sort of like dismissed with prejudice. Like how a court you get the idea. The bill, known as the PACT Act, as a D&D player, that sounds so Warlock-like. Hexblade Warlock represents my backup character represents the most significant extension of healthcare coverage for veterans in years, protecting an estimated 3.5 million former service members who have been exposed to burn pits and war zones. Legislation is projected to cost nearly $280 billion over a decade, according to the Congressional Budget Office. And if we can spend trillions of dollars on war, we can spend a couple $100 billion on our veterans. Burn pits, as pointed out in Jon Stewart's episode, the problem with burn pits. Burn pits were commonly used in Afghanistan and Iraq to dispose of waste exposed to military members to toxins that have been connected to several respiratory conditions, illnesses, and cancers, including retired Army Major Richard Ojeda, who I just saw a video of him today saying that he takes 20 meds a day. He shouldn't have to. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said it's hard to explain. It has some immorality to it that 80% of Republicans would vote against our veterans. Republicans voted against our veterans. The party that loves to claim that liberals and Democrats hate the troops, they all, with the exception of that Schumer little thing, they all voted to give veterans benefits. Sure, there were obviously, if it's 55, that means 5 Republicans joined them, but not enough. Because the other 41, I'm a little high, I'm 1 ADD, 2, I'm high, and I'm sick as a dog from COVID. The rest of them voted against it because they are so obsessed with not giving Biden or the Democrats any win, instead of putting partisan politics aside to give our veterans health care. Democratic Senator Jon Tester of Montana, chairman of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, who helped lead the bill, blasted his Republican colleagues. They're not colleagues. Stop saying his Republican colleagues, his Republican opposition. This hateful group, warning that veterans could die because of inflation. Quote, and he said, this 11th hour act of cowardice will actively harm this country's veterans and their families. Republicans choose today to rob generations of toxic exposed veterans across this country of the health care and benefits they so desperately need. And make no mistake, more veterans will suffer and die as a result, Tester said on Wednesday. Along with that, the first thing I said in this video, comedian Jon Stewart, an advocate for veterans and 9/11 first responders, also ripped into Republicans on Capitol Hill on Thursday. They haven't met a war they won't sign us up for, and they haven't met a veteran that they won't screw over. Sadly, and he also said, sadly, these are the same people that fought and defended their right to this fuckery. This is corruption at its finest. And sadly, these are the people that fought and defended their right to this fuckery, Jon Stewart said. He said, along with New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Republican senators are largely in favor of the bill as it passed the upper chamber last month in an overwhelming bipartisan 84-14 vote. What? The House then approved the legislation by a 342 to 88 vote. Which one of you Republicans is voting in the House is voting to say, I wouldn't be surprised if Andrew Clyde did. He did. He did vote against contraception and gay marriage. The House then approved 342 to 88, but the Senate took up the bill again on Wednesday after the House first had some tweaks to it. Yet, unlike the approval last time, why would you? Yet, unlike this approval last time, Republicans on Wednesday raised concerns with a section of the bill that deals with spending. Of course, austerity when Democrats are in power, but no austerity when they're in power. GOP Senator Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania voted against the bill, said it includes a big gimmick that would allow $400 billion of current law spending to move from discretionary to mandatory spending category. By failing to remove this gimmick, Congress was effectively using an important veterans bill to hide a massive unrelated spending binge. We're spending them on the people. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell Thursday called on Schumer to consider Toomey's amendment to the bill. As written, the legislation will not just help American veterans as designed, they will also allow Democrats to eventually spend the same money twice and enable hundreds of billions in new unrelated spending on discretionary side of the federal budget. It's not like Mitch McConnell, have allowed twice as much spending under Donald Trump. The Democrat-led Senate anticipated the bill would advance Wednesday procedural vote, bringing it up total towards its final passage in President Biden's signature before Congress leaves for its August recess. Yet now the legislation remains in limbo. Senator Toomey decides that he wants to rewrite the bill, change the rules, and tank it. Democratic Senator Kirsten Gillibrand said in a press conference. How he convinced 25 of his colleagues to change their votes, I have no idea. What the hell? This is total bullshit. Yep. And some names we know are there. Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, Josh Hawley of Missouri. I think I've heard of Roy Blunt. John Kennedy, not the actual John Kennedy. No relation, by the way, of Louisiana. Cornyn and Cruz of Texas, of course. Cotton of Arkansas. Kramer of Dakota. It's all one Dakota. Inhofe, he's still there. Jesus. Ron Johnson. That dumbass Mike Lee who literally said that the best way to deal with climate change is having more babies. Mitt Romney, of course. Mitch McConnell. Rand Paul, God, Charles Booker, please cast his ass out. Please. Rick Scott, of course. Tupperville and Toomey. Yeah. Republicans support the troops, my ass. You know. I don't understand how you can. I don't understand how you can claim to be for the troops and then yet you're going to vote against veterans' health care. You cannot claim that you love America and you love the troops, and yet you're going to deny health care to veterans who were exposed to all those toxic chemicals. I have veterans in my family. I have war veterans in my family. I tried to enlist in the Air Force. What if they had they accepted me? You know? And I had been exposed to those because I may be a healthy man, but I got weak ass lungs. You know, it's taken all my strength to not collapse whenever I cough. It feels like 1,000 knives are stabbing my lungs when I cough. It's an outrage. They will pull out money that we do not have so that our veterans can go fight all those wars and kill all those people just so that Boeing, Raytheon, and Honeywell and Lockheed Martin can make all their billions of dollars in war profiteering. But the second they're no longer in uniform and they're in need of help, oh, Republicans could not give a single fuck about our veterans because they care more about the money from the military industrial complex, the war money, the war donations. They don't care about that. They don't give a fuck about our veterans. I'm not saying Democrats are perfect, but hey, they did the right thing by voting to give veterans health care. This is disgusting. You cannot claim that you are for the troops and you'll deny them. I know I've said that many times. It just they would rather. It both shows that they really don't care, but it also shows that they are so obsessed with denying Biden any win that they're willing to stab our veterans in the back just so that they don't give Biden a win just before the midterms. It's disgusting. You know, I hate all the wars that we have fought and that we are currently fighting in. But I will not let that. But it's not going to make me hate the troops. They didn't sign up. I mean, they didn't start the wars. The politicians did. And this isn't a case of, oh, politicians voted against this because they're all awful. No, Democrats voted for this. Sure, 5 Republicans. I don't know who they were. I would have thought Mitt Romney would have, I guess it shows he ain't a moderate. He's just not a jackass like Trump. But, so to vote against this is to be anti-American. This is anti-American to not support our troops in that sense. Republicans can no longer claim that they support troops. No. I mean, they're gonna claim it, but they shouldn't. Well, I feel like absolute shit. COVID is still ravaging me. But, guys, don't take. I'm not saying you have to vote Democrat, but don't ever vote Republican. They will screw you second they can. Democrats will just get into power and do nothing. Republicans will get into power and actually And Democrats might every now and then, if the if the if God is merciful, they'll try to pass something, but Republicans will block them every time because that's all they got. All they got is being opposition to the Democrats because they're not going to offer them anything that could improve their lives. So they got to distract them with culture war or just straight up petty partisan politics. It's pathetic, but that's the way our system is. Well, I'm probably just going to go get high and take a shower. But take part in this election. I'm not going to say that this is the most important election ever. I think that's set like I remember people saying that about 2012, and I'm like, I really don't think so. But 2020 was the most important election in our lifetime, and unless something worse happens, I'll stick to it. But yeah, vote. You don't have to vote Democrat. Just don't vote Republican, but do vote. Partake in the election. Go to rallies. As soon as I'm cleared up here, I'm gonna try and go to this little thing for my little Hall County Democrat thing. Although, if my progression keeps going this way, I might not be able to. Anyway, stay awesome, stay progressive, and may the force be with you always.